We good?
Good.
Hey, I'll start again. My name is Sergeant Rodriguez. I'm one of the day shift commanders at the Hopkinsville Police Department. Real quick, I spent 8 years in the United States Army serving the military police corps. Had two combat tours overseas to Iraq. I've also served here locally. I've worked with the city of Hopkinsville for 5 years now, 5.5 years. In that time, I've been a patrolman, a K-9 handler, and most recently now I'm a patrol sergeant. I would say the most rewarding job I've done so far in the police department has been K-9 handler, because you get an opportunity to really see a lot of different people, go to a lot of different places. So if any of you do become police officers, something I encourage you to do is, if you like working with dogs, it's to apply to be a handler, because I mean that was probably the funnest time I've had in my career was being a handler. I was asked to come down today and talk to you guys about workplace etiquette. Workplace etiquette. Anybody have an idea what that might entail? What that might mean? Go ahead. The manners you show at work, that's exactly what it means. How do you behave at work? What image do you portray to both your co-workers, your supervisors, and those in which you're serving? A lot of you guys know, when in the law enforcement field, you guys are out front, in public all the time. The way you act in public and in private is the same way they portray the entire police department. So having manners, or being professional, all of those are very important in law enforcement, especially when you're in your workplace. In your workplace, when you come into work, is the entire city, or wherever jurisdiction you're working. So if you're a state trooper, the entire state is your jurisdiction. You need to look good in your workplace. If you're a sheriff's deputy, that county you serve in, that is your workplace. You need to look good. The city, the entire city, if you're a city officer, is your workplace. You need to look good. Real quick, we'll start off as an applicant. A lot of the things we see when people are applying for the police department is the lack of etiquette. Remember, the impression you set starts from day one. The first day you decide that, hey, policing is something I want to do and I want to be a law enforcement officer. The day you start filling out that application is the minute your etiquette in the workplace begins. That's where me as a supervisor, I can begin to evaluate you as a person, as an employee, and how you're going to perform and what kind of product you're going to give me and what kind of service you're going to provide to the city. One of the most important things I found is dressing appropriately. When you guys are going to a job interview, wearing shorts, wearing sneakers, being in flip-flops, that's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for the workplace you're applying for, nor is it appropriate for an interview setting. So what you need to think about is, even if it's not a career in law enforcement, when I'm starting off right in the beginning, what kind of picture do I want to portray to the person who's giving me this job? So let's say, for instance, an example, law enforcement. If I'm going to show up as a law enforcement recruit and I want a job as a law enforcement officer, something I'm going to wear is slacks. If I don't have a suit, I'm going to wear a button-down shirt with a tie. If I'm a female, I'm going to wear a nice knee-length or longer skirt and a nice dress shirt. That's appropriate. A lot of things we see that right off the bat disqualifies people is that they'll come in with shorts and a t-shirt for an interview. Inappropriate. They'll come in wearing flip-flops. Inappropriate. They'll come in chewing on gum. While the chief of police is asking them a question, they're busy just gnawing away on their gum in their mouth. All right? Get that gum out. You guys don't need it. Using appropriate terms, i.e., sir, ma'am, sergeant, lieutenant, captain. Understanding the rank structure in the agency in which you're going to, because every agency is different. If you come to the city, we have one rank structure. You go to the county, they have a different rank structure in the county and the state police. Although the ranks are similar, they're addressed differently. So you need to do your research. So if you want to be a state policeman, all right, and you want to be an entry-level trooper, that's Trooper 1. So you would address another state policeman as a trooper. You see their sergeant, you would approach them as a sergeant, because that's how they want to be addressed. The police department has corporals. If you see a corporal, you would address them as corporal. Those are the appropriate things to do. Another key things I want to point out too, and I've seen this too before, well, I see guys that we work with right now. How many of you guys like wearing cologne? How many of you guys in here like wearing cologne? You're going out, maybe you're having a little party. My man right here is excited about it. Ladies, about perfume. Who likes wearing perfume? Everybody wants to smell good. I have yet to meet somebody who doesn't want to smell good. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually a good positive thing, because it shows good positive hygiene, and it shows that you care about your personal image. That's a good thing. Don't get carried away with it. Many of us have met people who do get carried away with it, right? You walk into the room, and 2 rooms over is the guy wearing the cologne, but you can smell him over here. You don't be that guy, all right? Because that guy right there stands out, and not in a good way. Same thing with the women. Women, don't be that lady. Don't walk in the room and everybody in the room knows, bless, she is wearing some heavy perfume, my God. Because now whatever you say is covered by the fact that you have this heavy odor emitting from you. It may be a good one, but it's so strong and potent, nobody wants to smell it anymore, okay? Coughing and sneezing. What do you think is appropriate when you're talking to somebody and you're about to sneeze or cough? Exactly. Turn away from them. Say, excuse me, cover your mouth. Don't sneeze on them, don't cough on them. It's inappropriate. All right? Don't do stuff like that. Something that, I'll be honest with you, is kind of an up-and-coming thing. How many of you guys, who has tattoos already in here? Anybody got a tattoo? Tattoo? Yeah, you guys are too young for tattoos. You better not have any. Anyway, as you guys begin to become older in age, you're going to want to wear tattoos, which is okay. Everybody wants to display their expressions, their creative side in different ways. Some get tattoos, some don't. Some restrict, some go down to drawing. That's fine. What you're going to find, though, is in the culture of law enforcement, although tattoos are not prohibited, it is something that it's found to be a bit offensive almost, depending on what the tattoo is. So what I'm going to tell you is, you're applying to be a police officer and you know you have tattoos on your arms or you have tattoos on visible parts of your body, cover them up. Wear either a long sleeve shirt, wear something that covers it so it looks business appropriate and you look professional, okay? As the process continues, that's the question they're going to ask you anyway. Do you have any body art? Do you have any piercings that we need to be aware of? That is your time to go, yes, actually I do. And that is one of the reasons why I've chose to wear the business attire that I'm wearing right now, is to cover my body art. But yes, I do have this, and this is the reason why I have it. Be smart. A lot of us want to express ourselves in creative ways. Remember, when you put body art on yourself, that's for the most part permanent. Don't put something on your body now that you're going to regret tomorrow. All right? Don't forget, body art is very, very, very permanent. There are very expensive ways of getting it removed, but even when you do that, it'll leave scarring and it won't look good. So pay attention to that stuff, you know. Today you like the starfish, so you're going to put a starfish on you. Well, tomorrow you ain't going to like it, but now it's stuck on you, right? So now when the guy who's going to hire you goes, hey, why'd you get a tattoo of a starfish on you? You're like, well, back then I liked it. I really don't like it now. What they're going to see is an indecisive person. Something to think about, okay? Be alert. Don't look sleepy. A couple of us are a little sleepy in here today. I can see that already. That's okay, though. Be alert. Don't look sleepy. If you got an interview that you're going to go to, all right? If you've got a test that you're about to take now because you're trying to apply to be a police officer, get a good night's rest. Make sure you ate something that morning. It's just like testing here in school. Be prepared. Be ready. A lot of times, and it applies to me too, sleepiness can also be nervousness. Don't be nervous. The best way to combat nervousness is to what? Prepare. Be prepared. Do all the reading you can. Do all the studying you can. Because once you're prepared, you're not as nervous. And a lot of people like me, when I get nervous, I look sleepy. I start to yawn a lot. So just be aware of that. One way to circumvent being nervous is doing a lot of studying. Do you have any questions? Don't have a PowerPoint, but I'll show you guys. For those of you that don't know, this is what a male would look like for business formal. Business formal. What you see here is a gentleman wearing slacks, dress shoes. He's got a tie on, button-up shirt. Business formal. You're coming in to do an interview, or you're working for the police department at this point. And you're a trainee, you're a person just getting introduced into the business. Business formal. What's going to happen is the supervisor's going to come to you and go, listen, hey, you've been hired on, congratulations. We're going to want you to do business casual. this is better. Business casual for a male. What you're going to see is the fact that he doesn't have the tie on, but he is wearing button-up shirt, wearing maybe loafers. He's got the option to or to not wear a jacket. This area specifically, we'd probably rather you not wear a jacket. The button-up shirt with a pair of slacks, maybe some light loafers, that's fine. This is once you've become a member of the agency, you're a trainee, you're preparing to go to training, you've already done your testing process, or you've been instructed. This is the uniform of the day. When you report to testing, when you report to your written exam, we want you to be in business casual. This is what they're expecting you to be dressed as. Button-up shirt, maybe even a polo shirt. A nice, clean-looking polo shirt, not something ratty with holes in it, you know, all wrinkled, all right? Real quick, ladies, business formal. Business formal, you see she's wearing a jacket, long skirt, up to her knees, button-down shirt. That's business formal. Business casual, no jacket. Casually dressed, same thing. You can wear a pair of slacks if you choose to with a polo shirt as well. That'll work just as fine. What I found is a lot of people tend to get a little confused with business casual and I'm going out to party. We had that issue about a week ago. We had a new hire, not for the police department, but for the dispatcher side. Came to work, or excuse me, came to the testing process in what we would call business formal, looking real nice, real formal like. Came to her first day at work, and what she believed to be business casual, however, it was, I think, something that she wore out to the club, inappropriate. And it was something that was addressed. So there's things to be aware of. Pick your wardrobe out. Ask your friends, ask your family, hey, does this look like something that's appropriate for me to wear on my first day to work? Always ask others' opinions, because they matter. I'm going to go over a couple terms here. Etiquette. We've already talked about here in the beginning. It's knowing how to act in a variety of social situations or following socially acceptable behavior. Obscene language. Anybody have an idea what obscene language is? Profanity, that's right. Something you should strongly work against having while you're in the interview process. Okay? Not only that, that carries over to you when you become a police officer. I think a lot of us have seen those who have set poor example and use obscene language. Am I correct? What we need to remember is we need to learn from others' mistakes. You know, nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes. However, it's important to understand that when we see somebody make a mistake, that we learn from that mistake and we don't do them ourselves. Taboo topic. Anybody know what that might mean? Taboo topic. Improper or unacceptable. Netiquette. I've never heard that one. Anybody ever heard that one before? Netiquette. It's a set of social rules which facilitate internet interactions. Having etiquette on the internet. That goes back to Facebook. Who's got Facebook in here? I'm pretty sure every hand probably needs to go up on that one. It's a social age. Guys, a lot of the stuff you do on Facebook also comes over into your workspace too. A lot of people don't realize that. Your behavior on Facebook, your behavior on social media bleeds over into actual workplace experiences. Especially when you become a police officer. If you choose anything in the public safety realm, you need to understand that everything you do both professionally and personally is going to be always scrutinized. So your Facebook account, the police department needs to know when you have a Facebook account. They will regularly monitor it. You put something on there which detracts from your ability as a police officer, detracts from the image of the police department, something's going to be said to you. Because remember, what you do as an officer affects everybody in the agency, not just you. It affects everybody. The image the city has on you and the image that the department has itself. And the last two we're not going to discuss because they're kind of ridiculous. All right, that's pretty much what I had to cover, actually. I'm going to open the floor up to any questions. You guys have any questions on anything I've talked about?
You guys are interested in going to HPD? If you got any questions, now it's time to ask.
Do you think you went up in ranks like relatively fast?
Do I think I went up in rank relatively fast? And that's a question I ask myself on a regular basis. And the reason I say that is because, for those of you that don't know, the city is on what's called a 25-year retirement. Well, I got hired on a 25-year retirement. For those of you right now who are thinking of applying to be a police officer, you're going to be on what's called a 27-year retirement, meaning you're going to have to work for 27 years before you'll be eligible to draw your retirement. I spent 8 years in the United States Military Police Corps, and I spent 8 years essentially as a patrolman. And right there, smack dab in the middle of my enlistment in the Army, I was also a collision investigator. So I had the opportunity to both conduct patrol operations and then collision investigations for 8 years essentially while I was in the military. Coming into civilian law enforcement was kind of a straight nexus from the work I was already doing. So then it gave me the opportunity now to come here and take that skill set I had already learned in the military and apply it now on my civilian side. I don't believe I started early, because in my mind I've already got 8 years already of experience in patrol work. 8 years of dealing with people, 8 years with trying to solve problems, 8 years with working in the same capacity that I'm working now. I now have the ability to take that information and provide it to others. So I think, although it seems early, it provided to me the opportunity to provide leadership early on. So now.
So you would say that it's not that different being a military police than like a civilian police?
The question was, is it that much different being a military police officer than a civilian police officer? What you're going to find is, and the same goes for different agencies, city, state, and local, is that everybody does things differently. In the military, they do things one way. When you come out of the military, they do things other ways. They're all different experiences. I'm not going to say one's better than the other. The only thing I will say is on the military side, you're going to find yourself doing a lot more of the deployment stuff where you're overseas. You may not be locally as much. If you go active, I think you do a lot more locally if you do like National Guard or Reserve or something like that. So the experience is about the same. So for those interested in doing the military, you're going to learn about policing in the military, and then when you come out to be a civilian police officer, you'll learn about policing the civilian side of the process. Any other questions? Who's interested in a career in law enforcement? Well, that's good. That's good. You guys want to be police officers here in the city, or no? Where do you want to go? You want to be a detective? Do you know where? Have you thought of that? No? You just think you want to move into an investigator spot somewhere? How about you? Where do you want to be a police officer at?
I want to be a crime scene investigator.
Oh, really? Where are you thinking of doing something like that?
Somewhere big.
For those that didn't know, we also have a crime scene investigator or a crime scene tech here at the police department. We've got 2 spots for it. And it's something new that they've started up in the last 3 years. We didn't initially have them. And essentially what happens is they're civilian personnel, they're not sworn, but they're members of the police department. So if I go out and there's a shooting, there's a robbery, or there's a high-profile crime that takes place, I can call my crime scene tech who has specialized training in collecting evidence, and he'll come out and he'll help me collect my evidence. So we do that here in locally as well. Did you want to be a police officer? A lawyer. Wow, what made you decide to do that? Okay, who else wanted to be a law enforcement officer? Where'd you want to be one at?
Los Angeles or Nashville.
Wow, Los Angeles or Nashville, Metro, huh? What made you decide that you wanted to be a Metro officer?
Bigger city.
Bigger city. Bigger city, huh? Is that pretty much the census, that everybody wants to work for a bigger city?
I want to go back to like where I was born, so that's Riverhead in New York.
New York.
So, but it's just like this town.
Okay.
So it's a bit smaller and everyone knows each other.
For those that are interested in going into law enforcement, how many have looked already in the agencies that they're interested in going to? How many have gone to their website and done a little digging? Well, good. Good. Here's the important thing I'm going to tell you, and a lot of you guys may not think it to be important. Go there now and see what their requirements are, because they may be a little tougher when you're ready to jump into it. A lot of them require you to be 21 years of age. A lot of them require college. How many people are planning on going to college here? If I can go back in time and make a decision in my life whether or not to go to college, it would have been to go to college. Because I have only a couple hours and I got them in the Army while I was in the military. Something I'm going to tell you is a lot of agencies are starting to go towards requiring you to have college if you want to be a law enforcement officer. City of Hopkinsville, as a matter of fact, the chief of police, he's only been there less than a year, and he's already talking about starting to institute a college requirement for all new recruits, which is 15 credit hours, which is not very much. But if you look at Lexington, City of Lexington, everybody know where Lexington's at in Kentucky? That agency right there, if you want to be a law enforcement officer with them, they require you to have 30 credit hours right from the gate, right from the go. You need to have 30 credit hours. Nashville PD, if I'm not mistaken, requires 30 credit hours if you want to be a law enforcement officer with them. A lot of them have the alternative route of 2 years of military time. I'm going to tell you right now, you'd be hard-pressed to get a contract for this 2 years. I think the smallest contract you can get right now is 4 years. I myself did 5 years. I enjoyed it so much I did another 3 years. I was like, screw it, I'm going to stay. But it was time to go. So be aware of that. If you haven't already started studying now, what you're going to need to do when you get out, I really encourage you to do that, because it gets you ready and gets you in the right mindset. Any other questions? Did you want to be a law enforcement officer? Yeah. EMT? We actually have EMTs. I'm glad you bring that up. One of our SWAT team members, we have an active SWAT team at the police department. And one of those officers, what they do is, because they're in such a high-risk occupation, such a high-risk extra duty, they sent one of those officers to EMT school. So the police department paid for him to go to EMT school, which is actually very expensive. I don't know if you knew that or not. It does cost money. But a benefit to being a police officer is that the agency covered the cost of him getting trained in regards to that. I don't think we have a lawyer on the books, though, so I can't give you one on that one. What else? Nothing else? Any questions about law enforcement in general? We can talk about them real quick. I know, did you guys already covered the difference between misdemeanors and felonies and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Who can tell me the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony?
A misdemeanor is like a sentence under a year, and a felony is a sentence above a year.
Okay. What do you got?
I was just gonna say a misdemeanor is punishable by a year or less, and felony is by a year.
You know, I'm glad we're talking about misdemeanors and felonies. You know, something else you're going to learn is, I'm sure he's going to cover a lot of Kentucky law with you guys. Something you're going to find is all 50 states all have 50 different laws. Every state has a different look at speeding, has a different look at careless driving. So for those of you who are looking to go to Tennessee, those of you looking to go to Los Angeles, those of you looking to take job as investigators, you need to understand too, what kind of law am I going to be enforcing? What are the rules where I'm going to be going? Because what may be a felony here may be only a misdemeanor in Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? And if you pick a agency which is close to the border like we are right now, where we can deal with people from Tennessee or even Missouri or Illinois, which aren't very far, right up I-24. You need to understand what their mindset is when they're coming down this way. We deal with a lot of people who come from Colorado. And what's legal in Colorado is not legal here in Kentucky. Marijuana. And you would be surprised the amount of marijuana that travels I-24 from people in Colorado who think that because they're from Colorado, it's okay for them to carry it here in Kentucky, which it's not. You got to remember, the place you're at is the laws you got to follow. Did you say something? No. Any other questions?
I just got back from Denver. There was a lot of marijuana out there.
I bet. I think you can grow up to a certain amount at your house without having a permit or a license. So Kentucky's probably gonna be one of the last states to ever legalize it if it ever starts growing like wildfire. But just be aware of that. You need to know what state you're going to if you're going to police in another state. Same thing with the legal. You guys, my understanding, are freshmen, sophomores,
I'm a junior.
junior. I'll see. It's a mix. So especially those who are juniors, you need to understand, where you want to go. Like, for instance, New Jersey. Anybody from New Jersey here? I'm from New Jersey. That's the only reason I ask. Military left me here. New Jersey, one of the few states I think in the country where you can be 18 and be a police officer. Every other state that I know of requires you to be at least 21. I don't know of any other state that lets you be a police officer, or the military. The military lets you come in and handle a weapon at 18. For the most part, every other state is going to require that you be at least 21 years of age. Except for New Jersey. New Jersey, you could be 18. I don't know what the deal is with that. But New Jersey and New York both have some of the strictest gun laws I've ever seen in my life. So it's odd that they let an 18-year-old be a cop, but they're good with it. Getting into law enforcement is something I'm also going to tell you about, is having a steady work history. Some of us may not feel like it's important right now. We may feel like we have better things to do when we're not at school. But something I'm going to encourage you to do is, once you're of age, is to get you a part-time job somewhere. No matter what it is, something that shows a steady work history. Go there and build your reputation as a good, hard worker. Because now what you're doing is you're building yourself a list of contacts. People who your employers can call and say, hey, was this guy trustworthy? Was he always on time? Would you depend on him to get the job done? You start that now, and that will follow you the rest of your career. Any other juniors in here? Or is it just the one? Two? Are you looking to get into law enforcement?
I want to be an FBI agent.
FBI. You're trying to be in the FBI as well? Are you guys planning on taking any college, anything like that, or? It should be probably going like this, because of course the FBI, I think they require 60 credit hours, if I'm not mistaken, if you want to be an agent with the FBI. And I don't think they have, well, they have an alternative track of 2 years military, but you still need 30 credit hours of college. The reoccurring trend is, I know I was the same way when I was your age. I'm ready to, once I graduate, I'm done with school, I'm going straight to work, I'm done with schooling. I hate to say it, the important thing is honestly continuing your education, going to college. Whether it be a 2-year program at Hopkinsville Community College, or going to a full-blown university like Murray State, going to Western, going to Eastern. Continuing your education past high school is very important, no matter what you choose to do, even if it's not in law enforcement. So I'm going to tell you right now, that's what a lot of people are looking for. There's a lot of people out there in the workforce. The question is, are you trained and are you qualified to do the job? And you're not going to be if you didn't continue your schooling. So for those who aren't interested in doing it, I would highly encourage you to look at what you're going to do after high school. Start thinking now, because it's going to come a lot faster than you think. Some of us may be just sophomores or freshmen, but the time goes by fast, faster than you think. And if you're not thinking forward about what you're going to do when you get done with school, you're not going to be ready. Anything else? Anything? Go ahead.
They check family background.
Do they check family background? What I'm going to tell you is, I can speak for the city of Hopkinsville. We're not so concerned with what your family has done as much as we're concerned what have you done, if it makes sense. And I'll give an example. We've got 3 or 4 officers right now employed with the city, myself included. My brother is a convicted felon. I'm not going to be afraid to say it. My brother sells crack cocaine. He don't sell it here in Kentucky, though, because I'd take him to jail if he did. He lives in New Jersey. My brother's a convicted felon. Several other officers, they've got family members that are involved in criminal activity. You can't control what your family members do, but you can control what you do. You can control the things you get involved in. You can control the things you do. And that's what we want to see. Even though you're in an environment that maybe wouldn't be ideal for you to grow up in to be a law enforcement officer, what decisions did you make? What choices did you make when you were faced with those issues? How did you behave? How did you act? You saw the wrong, what did you do? Maybe you didn't turn them into the cops, but you stood away from it. You told them, listen, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to get involved in it. You keep it over there. I'm going to stay over here. And you were honest about it, okay? Like I said, you can't control what your family does. You can control the people you're around, though, i.e. your friends. So you're around people who do inappropriate things like that, and they're not your family. The best thing to do is cut them out of your life. Because all that's going to happen is you apply to be a police officer, you apply to be a lawyer somewhere at a law firm. What's going to come up is the fact that you were associated with this person and you never broke your ties with them, knowing that they were involved in constant criminal activity. They're not family to you, they're no one to you, but just you kept with them, then that might be behavior you may be likely to do because you didn't want to cut it with them. So there's things to be aware of. Be aware of the people you keep in close company with you. So no, specifically having family members which are involved in criminal activity isn't an automatic disqualifier. The investigator, when they go to do your background interview in any agency, they're going to look at the person. What environment has this person been in, and what life decisions have they made? And what were the results of those decisions they made? I will tell you that the city of Hopkinsville will allow you to be a police officer if you've used marijuana in the last, I believe, 3 years prior to applying to be an officer. If you use PCP, if you've used crack cocaine, or if you use methamphetamine, you are automatically disqualified. You do not qualify to be a police officer if you use any of those hard narcotics. Don't lie about it, because we find you every time. Don't experiment, don't touch the stuff, leave it alone. If anything, it's going to be a lifelong medical issue, especially PCP, because that stuff stays with you forever. You're forever going to have flashbacks, you're forever going to be twitching and everything like that, so don't even touch that stuff. But I don't know of any police agency now in the 50 states that we're in that doesn't do a polygraph. And if you think you won't slip up in the polygraph and show the fact that you had used drugs in the past, you're wrong. Because you're going to be sitting there so nervous, and when they ask that question, it's just going to spike, and you're going to be like, they got me. So don't lie. The first thing that gets people disqualified in the process is when they lie. You sit back there in the polygraph, before you even sit down in that seat, they've asked you a bunch of questions, and they've asked for your honest opinion. So if you've used marijuana before in the past, be honest about it. Like, yeah, I have. Yeah, I smoked. You know, I was with the situation. I was at a party, they were passing it around. Yeah, I smoked. You were honest about it. We can work with that. If it's an isolated incident, if you were in a social situation where you felt like if you didn't do it, you may be in some serious issue and you had to do it, it's understandable. Or maybe you were experimenting, unfortunately, and that's what you did. Honesty goes farther than the fact that you lied about doing something that you did, if it makes sense. If you use one of those 3 hard drugs and you lie about it, like I said, just using it's an automatic disqualifier, but lying about it, yeah, you're done. You're out of here. Now, if it's an extended period of time ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and you can provide a solid reason as to why you used it, chief discretion whether or not you continue in the process. But I'll tell you it's an automatic disqualifier. Just be aware of that. Any other questions?
What is PCP?
PCP, it's a drug. It's essentially, it's like an acid. You'll normally find it on a stamp. People will lick it. I know you guys have seen that. Or it's like on the back of a piece of paper. PCP was originally synthesized or manufactured for the military as a painkiller. Back in World War II, World War I believe is when it was. And it was used as a painkiller. However, it has a lot of psychedelic effects to it. Meaning it makes you hallucinate, it makes you see colors, it makes you hear noise, hear noise or see noises and hear colors, if it makes sense. If you're high on it, you would understand what I'm saying. But it's essentially, for those of you that have taken any kind of medication that maybe made you feel a little loopy, if you magnify that by 100, that's PCP. It's no longer allowed to be used, and it's not manufactured except for in your private labs, in somebody's house, or in their basement. Probably in their toilet or something, I don't know. Any other questions? For our city specifically, one of the requirements is that you have at least 2 years solo as a patrol officer. When I became a canine handler, I was just 2 years with the agency. They took into account my prior training with the military. Be able to operate with little or no supervision. Be able to talk in front of a large group of people. Because a lot of people don't realize when you become a canine handler, you become a public information officer almost. You become a public image almost. Everybody wants you to stop. Everybody wants to see the dog. Who likes dogs in here? Who doesn't? The question is, who doesn't like dogs? That's the question. And then these people go running, screaming, and yelling, oh my God, and everybody wants to see why they're screaming and yelling. So now you become the source of attention. So a person who can operate with little or no supervision, a person who's able to talk in front of large groups of people, have at least 2 years of service with the police department. The same goes for Kentucky State Police, for those interested in doing that. They're the exact same way. All you need is 2 years of service. All you need is 2 years of service. 20/20 eyesight, or have the ability to correct your eyesight to 20/20. And have a home suitable enough to house your canine partner. Canine partners come home to you every night. They don't stay in a kennel or anything like that. For some of the metro locations, I think they do stay in a central facility. But in small agencies like ours, they come home with you. Do you have a question?
So in other words, Seth, do you like your own pet?
Essentially, the dog becomes your pet. They become your responsibility, both on duty and off duty. The city of Hopkinsville or the agency you work for covers any vet bills, any medical issues, the food, any of the toys, anything like that. They give you a special car to transport the dog in, and all that good stuff.
So the dog stays with you?
The dog stays with you. You go home, the dog goes home. You go to work, the dog goes to work. You go to court, the dog comes to work. Nah, I leave him in the car. I'll bring him inside. But yeah, for the most part, and something you'll probably learn as you continue on in your course here, is that the dog is considered a police officer. So anywhere a police officer can be, a dog can be. So when I was a handler, that dog was with me the entire time. If I went up to talk to you, then I had my dog with me. I'd tell him to sit, and he'd be sitting there. He'd just be sitting there looking at you. Probably waiting for you to throw a toy at him, because everybody who stands in front of him usually gives him a toy anyway, goes to pet him. But everywhere a police officer can be, the canine can be. I know a lot of people ask questions about that. Service animals, you know, when you go into a lot of these stores, they say no pets, stuff like that. Police dog qualifies as a service animal, so that's why from time to time you'll see a canine handler. He'll be doing a walking patrol, and he'll have his partner with him, and he'll be walking through the mall. He'll be walking through Walmart. The dogs are designed in a manner where they don't bite unless they're told to. And that's a common misconception, that a lot of these dogs are ready to bite and that they bite whenever they want to. For the dog, biting someone is actually a game. It's actually them having fun. To them, they think they're playing with you when they're biting you. So the dog is told that the only time he's allowed to bite somebody is when I tell him, all right, you're okay to bite him. And if he doesn't obey me, then he gets disciplined. The dog doesn't want to be disciplined. The dog wants to have fun. So the dog learns that I need to listen to what my handler is telling me to do, and then I get to have fun. So never be afraid, obviously, of a police canine. But what I will tell you is that if you want to pet or play with a dog, the first thing to do is always ask for permission from the handler. Hey, listen, how you doing? Do you mind if I pet your dog? If he says no, politely, I'm sorry, you know, he's not in the mood right now to be pet. I appreciate it, though. You know, be cognizant of that. Be polite. Be thankful. Be, all right, well, thank you. If he says, sure, yeah, that's fine. Slow movements. Pet him. Don't get carried away. Don't start throwing a ball around and trying to play with him, obviously without the permission of the handler. The handler will tell you what you can and can't do, and it's always good to ask, hey, is it okay if I pet your dog before you do it? Because if you do it first, the dogs are trained to protect their handler. So if it looks like you're coming at the handler to do something, the dog could think that I need to protect the handler. Somebody's trying to attack him, if it makes sense. Most of the dogs, we've got 3 dogs right now, and the 3 of them, well, one of them lives in the city, the other 2 live in the county. Well, no, we had 2 dogs living in the city. 2 canine handlers do live in the city, and they're subject to callback, meaning that if there's an emergency and they're not working, they can be called on the phone and told to come back to service because they have a partner, because they have a specialized skill they can do. Of course, with that, when you do a specialized skill in policing, you usually get paid more. So these guys get an extra check for doing that specialized skill. All right, what else? Huh? We've got no German Shepherds, because I'm sure that's the first question everybody asks. You know, how many German Shepherds we got? We have no German Shepherds. We have, I want to say 3 what's called Belgian Malinois. And it's not spelled like it sounds, just so you know. Belgian Malinois. These dogs are bred for work. They come from overseas in a place called Holland. They're trained initially there. They're brought to the United States. The officer who gets selected as canine handler goes to canine school for 6 weeks with the dog. They learn how to find drugs together. They learn how to find bad people together. And they learn how to bite. And when they come back, they continue on in their training, normally an additional 2 weeks. And then they're what's called cut loose, and they're set onto a shift. But the dogs we specifically use here in the county, because we have no German Shepherds at all in the county, are Belgian Malinois and Dutch Shepherds. These dogs are specifically bred for work. They're specifically bred to do the job that they're doing. They cannot do anything else because they're bred to find drugs and they're bred to find people. Can go back into genetics, but it's really not cool at all. But essentially what they do is they take a bunch of different dogs, they put them together, and they get this really, really, really good dog that has an awesome nose and has an awesome ability to bite. One of the important things when a dog goes to retire is understanding dog, if not under the proper care, could be dangerous. So a lot of times when the dog retires, they let it stay with the handler. Why? Because the handler understands the dog and the dog respects the handler. Very rarely will you see that a police canine is just given to anybody in the general public. Normally, if a dog's given up, it's given to somebody who has some kind of dog training already. Anyone else? So nobody wants to be a city officer? Everybody wants to leave Hopkinsville? Grass is green on the other side? Is that the feeling I'm getting here? Yeah? I'm not originally from here. I grew up in a big city myself. So to hear you guys wanting to go to a metro, you know, I can understand where you're going with that. And I mean, hell, when I was getting out the military, I was the same way. I was like, man, I'm gonna go to Lexington because Lexington was a metro. They weren't hiring. They were on a hiring freeze. I was gonna go back to New Jersey. I was gonna be New Jersey State Trooper. Troopers were on a hiring freeze. Well, can't go back there. City of Hopkinsville, little old city of Hopkinsville was hiring. I thought, well, I'll start here, then I'll go back once they're hiring again. And what I'm gonna tell you is, I'm glad I made the decision to stay here. I know you guys are growing up here and you really don't see it, but this really is an awesome community. This really is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to live. You're seeing a different view of it because you're growing up in this community and you may not like it. You want to go to the big city and do big city stuff. I think what you're going to learn, I'm going to let you learn on your own, is when you go there, it's not all it's cracked up to be. You're going to realize what you have here and then miss it. You're going to come right back. And then I'll be waving at you when I'm your lieutenant. Be like, yeah, here we go. I saved your patrol car right here. I knew you'd be back. Policing in a big city and policing in what's in Kentucky considered a medium-sized city. Completely different. The people, the agency, and the things you do. If you want to be a well-rounded officer, if you want to experience all facets of law enforcement, what you're going to find across the state is they're going to ask, well, have you been to Hopkinsville? You're going to apply to these agencies across the state and maybe even in Tennessee and go, hey, yeah, I'm coming from Hopkinsville. I was an officer up there. I was ready to move, so I'm trying to come down here. They're going to go, where were you working at? Hopkinsville? Yeah, come on. Right here. Sign up right here. Our officers, bar none, experience more investigative traits, have more investigative traits, have more patrol traits, have more supervisor traits than any other officer in the surrounding area. If you're going to experience it, you're going to experience it here in town. If you want to be a well-rounded officer, you're going to become that here in town. A lot of our officers end up moving up. They end up going back home to where they were originally from, and they carry that legacy with them. For those who end up becoming law enforcement officers in Kentucky, but not here in Hopkinsville, when you go up to the academy, the first thing you're going to hear is they're going to ask, hey, who's from Hopkinsville? People are going to raise their hand and go, all right, keep your eye on them guys. Them guys are going to be leading the way. And that's what we hire. We hire people that are going to set a good example and they're going to do the right thing. If you're not cut out to be a police officer, we're not going to pick you up. And that's just the bottom line. And when we go up there, when you go up to the police academy, when we go to these competitions, even the canine teams, they know, oh, the city of Hopkinsville's here, because they're disciplined, they're well trained. I'm not going to say you're not going to get that somewhere else, but what I'm going to tell you is, here locally, we're known statewide. So, just something to keep in your mind when you venture out into the world and you go, I want to go to the big city, I want to go over here, I want to do that. Oh, Hopkinsville's still here, waiting on you, because you'll be back. You will be back. Anything else? I know somebody's got a question. What's your thoughts on everything today? No, mister, I'm going to nod it over to you there, sir. Are you interested in a career in law enforcement? Yeah, where are you trying to go? Huh? Have you picked an agency? Have you decided a city maybe that you're interested in going to? No? You're just interested in doing law enforcement? Who's interested in doing military? Just out of curiosity. I think the military is a good idea. Like I said, I joined when I was 17. I was still a senior in high school when I joined. And in my mind, I thought, I'm about to be 18. Who's going to listen to an 18-year-old cop, because I was in New Jersey, you could be a cop at 18. Who's going to listen to an 18-year-old cop? I don't know nothing about life. I'm going to join the military. I'm not telling you that that's the decisions you need to make, but I made that decision and I enjoyed that decision. I think it really helped me grow up. Kind of taught me about life real quick. You experience different people. You experience different things. So yeah, the military option for those interested in doing it, I highly encourage it. I think it's a good idea. Even for those that are not interested in doing the military. There are a lot of career fields in the military which doesn't require you to go overseas. They leave you here locally, but you still get the experience and the exposure that everyone else is getting. So for those who haven't, and they pay for your college too. So for those who are kind of strapped for cash, maybe the family's not in a position to provide you that extended education after school, military, you cannot beat the military.
Air Force, if you go into Duke and you go into the AFRDC, not only do you go in as an O1 when you get out, but you only have a 4-year limit.
That's right. ROTC is what he's talking about. If you do that in college, you go in as a commissioned officer, you get paid more, you already have your college degree and it's been paid for by the military. That's another option of yours. I'm more popular than enlisted people because I was enlisted. I wasn't an officer. Anything else, guys? Come on. What else you guys got? Go ahead.
So what are the options, like, to go into the military, like, if you don't want to go out overseas and stuff? What else can you do?
Well, little did I know, there's a bunch of jobs that don't require you to go overseas. You can be an instructor, which you can technically go into that getting straight in out of the high school. They'll take you out and they'll teach you how to be an instructor, and then you can go be an instructor somewhere. That'll leave you local. Pack clerks? Those are the guys that are secretaries that do your paperwork. They normally don't deploy. Only set units deploy, and they normally do reserves. If you go active duty, those guys normally stay here. There's a whole laundry list, and you'd have to talk to a recruiter. I really honestly don't know all of them. But if you talk to a recruiter, they'll give you a list of all those MOSs that are least likely to deploy. Everyone at one point or another is likely to deploy, but there's a list. I swear to you, there's a list of people that don't go nowhere. I know that because I was there for 8 years, and that guy right there, he never went anywhere for 8 years, and I was always gone. I was like, hey, what are you doing in the Army that you never go anywhere? I'm like, man, you got to do this, because if you do this, you never go anywhere. I'm like, yeah, I noticed. You don't go anywhere. But you have to talk to the military recruiter. I really don't know. I know pack clerk's one of them. They don't really go very many places.
So you said you went to the military.
Yes.
So then basically, is it like a free ticket to experience? Then, like, if you go into law enforcement, will that make it easier for you?
I'm not going to say it's going to make it easier for you, but it's going to increase your chances of being more successful, I would say, in law enforcement, if it makes sense. There are a lot of people who, after high school, go to college, get a degree in criminal justice. And what you're going to find is a lot of agencies really aren't looking for the guy that or the gal that went to school for criminal justice. They want just an educated person. We're going to teach you the law. We're going to teach you what you can and can't do. We're going to teach you how to do the job. So technically going to the college and learning it in school, it really wasn't necessary. So the military is the exact same way. You don't have to be a military police officer to think that that's going to transfer straight over and then, you know, anybody's going to take you as a civilian officer. What I would encourage you to do is, you know, if you decide that the military is the route you want to go, talk to a military recruiter. Tell them about what you like, what you don't like. Tell them about your personal skills and what you're able to do, what you're really not too confident in doing. And they're going to pair you with a job which they feel is going to fit you the most. And I would go with it. For instance, like mechanic. If they're telling me, listen, man, you don't have what it takes to be a military police officer, but you can be a mechanic. Hey, that's good stuff to know when you come out of the military. How to fix cars, maybe how to fix a broke down engine. You know what I'm saying? Because now as a police officer, I can come up to a person whose car broke down and they go, man, my car won't turn on. And what kind of positive image does that portray now that as a police officer I can come to you and go, oh, it looks like you got a bad battery. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a ride up here to the parts store and we'll help you get that taken care of for you. In that eyes, you've not helped that person. So now it pays dividends in the end. Why? Because now they witnessed the crime. And because they know you and they know how nice of a person you are, they're going to come to you and go, listen, I don't like cops. I'll be honest with you. I really don't. But you were good to me. You helped me when I was in need. She was the one that did it. And now you know. Now, because you help somebody in the community, they're helping you. And at the end of the day, if the community isn't wanting to help you, it makes your job a lot harder as a law enforcement officer.
You can be a trainer in the military.
Huh?
You can be a trainer in the military.
Yes. There's a specific career field for instructors, yeah. And them guys don't go nowhere. I know that because we got two of them in the police department now, the reserves. They don't ever go anywhere. When they deploy to like Texas. I'm like, that's not a deployment. It's a paid vacation is what that is, Texas. But yeah.
Is there any like educational requirements to be in the military, like a high school diploma or anything?
I believe you need at least a GED, yeah. So you're going to need the high school diploma. Especially now because I think they're doing the whole reduction in the forces. So you most definitely probably need a high school diploma, yeah. So you need to graduate school.
So you can just go straight, like after you graduate into the military, or do you?
Uh-huh. I believe you can join the Reserves and National Guard at 17. I went active duty though. I didn't do the Reserves and National Guard.
Did you ever think about doing something like other than police, like FBI or like something bigger, like, you know, like that?
Good question. Good question. The question was, have I ever thought of doing anything other than local policing, like the FBI, maybe state trooper, something like that? What you're going to find is, and I thought just like this young man did right now, I want to be the agency with the most amount of power out there, with the most amount of authority, you know? I want to be, yeah, state trooper or FBI, because them guys, they have all the power, you know, the city guys have to listen to them. At the end of the day, you know, and I'm not knocking the FBI, nor am I knocking the state police. The bigger you are as an agency, probably the less authority you have. Take, for instance, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They cannot enforce Kentucky state law. If they see somebody breaking Kentucky state law, they can't enforce it. Anybody know why? They're federal agents. They can only enforce federal law. They cannot touch any state laws. They can't touch it. If they see, obviously, somebody in danger, they can stop whoever's causing the danger, hold them, detain them until a local officer shows up, or a state trooper, or a sheriff's deputy shows up. So, yeah, they may be able to transcend jurisdictions or boundaries, meaning they can investigate crimes, federal crimes in Tennessee, federal crimes in Kentucky, Missouri, wherever they may be, they can investigate it regardless of where they went to school. You're limited. State police, they don't know the area because they're troopers. They're always out and about. I think our county right now, it's called Post 2. In Post 2, there's maybe, I think, 20 troopers. But for every county, there's maybe one trooper patrolling it. So for Todd, Christian, and Muhlenberg County, there's only one trooper or two troopers that patrols our whole area. So you're by yourself. So guess if you're a trooper who you're relying on to back you up. If you go to a call, you're dealing with a situation. The city guy. The local law enforcement officer down on the ground. Them or the county officer. So it's tick for tack. It's choosing where you want to be and what you want to do. So the answer is yes, I have, but I like where I'm at. So I'm staying right where I'm at. Any other questions?
So in other words, like, you don't get to do as much in the FBI as like a local police.
I'm not saying you're not going to do as much, but you're definitely going to do different things. You got to remember the FBI, their main function is investigative functions, which who wanted to be the detective? The FBI would probably be right up our alley because they do a lot of investigative work throughout the country. If there's a rash of bank robberies, which is something that they specifically investigate, bank robberies, then that's something that she'd be assigned to. Hey, we've had bank robberies in Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina. We need you to head up that investigation. That would be her job because she has federal law in all 3 states. She can, if she finds the guy, no matter where he's at, she can arrest him, essentially. Did that answer your question? Anybody else? What about the one in blue? She's been quiet. Peekaboo. Are you interested in a career in law enforcement? No? What are you looking to do when you graduate high school? Haven't decided yet? That's okay. Are you a sophomore, freshman, junior? Freshman? She got some time to think. No rush. However, I will say your senior year will come quick, faster than you think. So thinking now ahead as to what you want to do when you get out of here, very important. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, we appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me, and if you have any questions, my name is Sergeant Rodriguez. Please feel free to call me at the police department. If you see me driving on the road, just flag me down. I'll be glad to talk to you guys, okay? It was a pleasure.